Hey folks, welcome to this workshop of for Swift India. This is an interesting take on the online workshop where you're given pre-recorded videos instead of having you to go through weird internet connectivity issues and missing out half of the talk. But yeah, I am Mustafa Yusuf. I have been an indie developer for I'd say probably a year now, and I have definitely done things on the side, just to help me continue devoting my time into the indie app dev space because I kind of need that revenue flowing on the side, and that's completely okay, right? And an indie project of yours may not always just go right off the start and be a success. It might take months to develop, and you need that kind of side flow. So it's always completely fine to do that. And I'll be talking about things that I've realized that the reasons I failed with my first indie app and why I think the second app succeeded. I will dive into more of those details, and hopefully I'll share some numbers with you that I'm probably doing for the very first time. So here we go. An indie's guide to the app store. So when you think of if you're good at coding, doesn't mean you'll be the best indie developer, but you can definitely learn these things as you go. So when you are going to say you're going to be an indie developer, making a great product or writing good code is one thing, but you have to understand other parts of it, right? Like you gotta be designing your app. You are going to be doing much more than just coding or building the app or architecting it. You have to get the design right, you have to get the marketing materials, and these are essential components. So you cannot forego on any of these things, and you cannot employ someone to do these things on your behalf, right? And if you can, that's really good, and you should do these things. If you're not specific, if you don't understand your customers well enough, get guidance from other places or get mentorship, or if you can, outsource your design work. But just remember that at the end of the day, you're going to be doing your coding, you're going to be taking up support tickets, you're going to be taking up the design work, you're going to be taking up the testing, right? And testing is really hard, especially when you've written your own code. You just genuinely think that, oh, my code can't go wrong. And when your users get your devices, get your product onto theirs, right? And they'd be like, you then start thinking of workflows which you didn't properly think they could, and they'll start doing that a lot more and crash your product in various ways, right? So testing is one key part, and I think even I have slacked over there. I just ship an update, I'm like, this is a small fix, it probably won't do anything, but then there's a bunch of things that broke down the path. So I have made two apps so far on the App Store. One of them is Lingo, which failed miserably, and I'm proud of that. It failed, right? Because I think Tasks, which was my second app, that is promising because I think I learned a lot of my mistakes from Lingo, and I'll definitely share them with you all, and I'll tell you what I think I did wrong and where Tasks, I used those points where I went wrong with Lingo, and I hit them right with Tasks, right? So, my first and foremost biggest mistake with Lingo is I did not speak to my potential users. And this is really critical because I was making a kids app and I did not speak to children. And more important than children, you need to speak to parents because they're the ones making the decisions. So you have to think about things like who is your paying customer, right? And who is the end product for. Sometimes both are not the same thing. And is your end product actually what they require, what they not require? And then a critical way to realize that is build an MVP and get the app out there to the users. Now what I experienced with Tasks is I had a bunch of users who I gave the app out to early on, and it wasn't my proudest work, right? There was definitely things I was going through, but people saw potential, and I'm like, it's crazy that there are people out there who will actually take the app and treat it as their very own, and they like to see you succeed because they feel they have been a part of your journey, helped the app get out there, they've given you feedback which you've considered. And it's not always it's not compulsory for you to take the feedback that the users give you, right? But it's definitely worth considering because there'll be things with you are so biased about that you miss the obvious, and it's happened to me. And I was extremely lazy when it came to marketing. I just thought, put the app out there, pretty screenshots, put one two blog posts here, write about it here and there, and that will just be it. but that's just not it. People are not going to go out and look like, hey, let me find this person's app. You have to realize what your users are searching and how will they get to your app. Make marketing material, make press kit, and reach out to the news editors, and make sure that you reach out with concrete stuff. Like, you don't just say, hey, I made this app. And it's better if you have a story assigned to it, why did you do it, and all of those things. But there's like a lot of tips out there for marketing material, and I think you should look out for that. And it wasn't that Lingo wasn't a pretty app. I think it was pretty app and it looks nice, but at the end of the day, was it for children or was it not? I made this app thinking, my wife who has been learning English, probably she would use this app, and I made it for her, and I tried to make it for children, but that's not how it works. I had to hit on a specific target market and realize what they want and cater it to them. And if you have a broad audience, that's just much better for you. But if you have a narrow audience, that's fine, right? Because Curtis has built Slopes app, which is just for snowboarders, right? And ski enthusiasts. Whereas I have made an education app, and there are some people like I'm Shivhab, who made a productivity app, which is for a bigger audience. So either way you can get success, but I'd say do realize your niche really early on. It's good, and target that. And if you target a generic audience, a bigger audience or a bigger size of the pie, definitely you'll get more traction. It's easier to grow. So I mean, that's completely up to you, but whatever your passion is, make sure you pursue that and don't get sidetracked into making something that you think is shiny but you don't understand completely. Always understand your product first and understand what you're building. And next up, so things I did right with Task. I understood my potential users right away, and how I did this is there are numerous amount of Slack groups, right? And there was this one Slack group I'm a part of, and they were all discussing, what's the best task manager app out there, and everyone was like, I think I like this the most, but I like this the most, but I like this the most, but, and there were a lot of buts, right? And I thought, what if I solve these buts and I give them the task manager they expect, but solving all these buts, right? Maybe they would move to it because they see that whatever problems they have being addressed onto this. And I spoke to 10 to 15 people who were, rigorous task app users, and they gave me their feedback. And users love giving feedback. It's actually like it's more like some political drama sort of thing, when one person goes in and everyone just follows to give their comments. So if you tell them that what's your favorite task manager, and they're like, this, but this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, I wish they did this, I wish they did this, right? And the list goes on. It just doesn't end that easy. And I got a bunch of things, and I consolidated that feedback, and I tried to target I tried to make the app and try to take in most of the feedback, but not all, because mind you, not all feedback is good. If you put too much into your app, it's too crowded, users get confused and lost. So that's something you have to keep simplicity out there. I did not start coding the app for until 2 months. So 2 months I just sat down, pen and paper, just write what the app should be, what should the model look like, what should it be like. Because when you code things and then you're done with it, and then you're like, oh, this should change, this should change, that gets very complex. So having that sense of clarity is really important. So know your product, know what you're building, visualize what the end product is, list down all the features that you think can come, prioritize them. Not all features have to go out at once. So just build and ship, build and ship, build and ship, right? And that's something that's really important. So figure out where your app is going to head to and start planning for that, but don't start coding for that yet. So make sure that each feature complements the other, and not that you end up writing the most complex feature and then you miss out a bunch of basic things. I got tasks out for beta testing very early on, and I got around 1200 testers who were using the app properly. I could say probably 500 active users on test flight, and that's pretty incredible. So 500 people are using it every day. Just imagine if these 500 people turn into paid customers, right? That's a lot of revenue right there, and these people have supported you, so they'll gladly pay for the premium version just to see their favorite task manager, see their favorite product grow into much more. and often our apps are just the price of a cup of coffee or something, so people don't mind supporting you. Sometimes there were many users that I've had who just pay for the app and they say it's not for me yet, but when you add this feature I'd like to move to it, but I have already subscribed to your app because I'd like to support and eventually end up using it, right? And their point is completely valid. I can't be the best task app right off the bat, because there are other competitors who've had years and years of head start, and there were apps that have been written 4 years, 7 years out there, and obviously they're gonna be much more feature heavy and everything. I'm just a one person team and they're like an entire company of people. So remember that if you do a very general thing with one special selling point, right? If you are a task manager, but you do say a Kanban board thing with multiple statuses really well, and sometimes that's it. That's all the user need, right? That's all that the user needs. So it doesn't have to be something really complex out there. Another thing is I wrote about my journey on Twitter, and the thing with indie developers is when you write about your journey developer, it excites the other developers that are in your network, and often people join your network in to see your journey and all of those things. And a lot of people saw one screenshot and they were like, "Oh, this is something I need to get whenever it launches." So maybe a tweet of yours, when it gets retweeted or something like that, it gets users interested, and they're like, "Oh, this is something to look out for." And I saw people added me to the Twitter lists called indie apps. The next thing is do a good job at pricing. Often what happens is we undersell ourselves. I've rarely seen developers ask at least indie developers ask a lot for their app. They definitely underprice their app. At if you price your app at 299, you'd need a lot of downloads to achieve that. And I was initially going to underprice my app, right? And pricing it appropriately, it really helped me get confidence and see that the revenue is flowing in. So yes, it is a sustainable model. If I price it at 299, I cannot take it up to 1499 eventually. Users will just go like, "Whoa, this is too expensive." But if you should figure out a good pricing for your product. Look at your competitors. There might be companies charging the same amount, but it's okay. Just beat them to it by 30%. You don't need to be 30% of the price, but just give a 30% discount on their pricing. So don't undersell yourself. Like honestly, I have done it in the past, and I initially was gonna do it with task, and I'm glad I didn't, because I priced it a little higher, or sufficiently higher than I thought it would be. I was gonna price it at 999 lifetime, and I thought a 499 subscription would have been okay, because going with Apple Arcade and all of those things, right? But no, I priced it at 1199 and 35 dollars for the lifetime option, and it worked. And now it's $40 for the lifetime option, right? And it still does work. So don't undersell yourself. And for pricing, right, I'm going to give you tips, and I've only got it right once, so I'm not sure if all these tips, but this is what I've seen and gathered and asked around to finally come to my price. And there are three options, right? A pay upfront, in-app purchase, and ads. And if you're a developer, if you're an indie developer, you care enough for your app, you probably don't want to put ads, so we not speak about that. But there's pay upfront, and then there's in-app purchases. Now, when would you do pay upfront is if it's a low effort to ship the app, you're not expecting to do tremendous amount of updates, and there is not so much additional cost outside. You don't have server hosting costs, you don't have any other things that your app is consistently taking. His app is costing you more. It was just your initial time and effort, and the app can sustain. Like it could be a small little game, it could be a simple little app which you don't see, you don't see yourself updating every now and then. And you will look back and you'll be like, hey, things in Procreate on the App Store are really famous, and they probably earn millions in revenue. Yes, they do earn millions in revenue, but there are like Apple features them left, right, and center all over. They have an insane presence. So if you think you're going to reach 100 million users and you're going to get 499 from them, that's 500 million in your pocket, right? But if you are an indie developer, that reach is going to be hard. companies like Things and Procreate, right? They got this reach over a period of time, and they are very well trusted, so they can go ahead and do things like this. But if your app is if you're going to plan on sustaining it for longer and all of these things, you might want to think this through. But if you think your app is an insta buy and people don't need to try it out before they download it, pay upfront works. So no discrimination on this, like you can completely go with this model. But your downloads will be lesser, but every download is a paid user, right? Which is kind of cool. So you just have to really get the app out there, maybe have them watch it. There was the flick type keyboard for the Apple Watch, which was being sold, and that one day just went off the charts, and he was earning around $2,000 a day or an hour, I'm not sure. And that's a paid upfront app, so it does work. But just know that you won't be able to do this really easy unless you get featured, or you have a good marketing plan set in the place. Then there's in-app purchases, which is consumable and non-consumable. This is pretty much like your pay upfront, except you're allowing the user to try the app out first and then pay for it. You can have play 3 levels of a game free and then pay for it. So you can completely do this. What this gives you an opportunity is, if you think you can sell it really well in the app, you might want to not do pay upfront and keep a screen, make the app interesting enough, and make the user think that he's completely going to get value, and you can ask him to pay over there, right? And this is you get a lot of high downloads because there's lesser friction from downloading. So this is one of the ways. And then comes the famous and the most dreaded thing, which is subscriptions. So you normally do this if you have an additional cost for your backend and you need to keep supporting. So with every user you get, you have server costs associated, and with the user staying on the platform, you'll continue paying for those things, right? And you'll need to spend a lot of time on the app. You'll need to keep updating the app, so you might as well get rewarded for your extra effort put in, right? So it's good for you to it's good for you to put a subscription model in place if you think you're going to plan on doing this for a long time and try to be sustaining on it. And the next thing is, you get an extra 15% profit for the next year for the retained users, right? Revenue Cat recently did a study where the 15% doesn't mean you take 85% of the revenue next year. It actually means you make either 75 to 85 if you're lucky, because what happens if users churn out, so users drop out, right? And when users drop out, you have lesser users remaining, so you get 85% of lesser. It's complicated. I'll probably send the link to this in the Slack group. It's an interesting read. And one tip I've learned from tasks is, say you for example, in my case, right, I put the annual subscription out there, and along with that I put the lifetime option, because I've seen a lot of people complain for the services. They just don't want to pay subscriptions. They want to own the app, and that's it. They think subscriptions are a scam, and it's okay. I'm not one to fight them. I just realized, let me just price the lifetime offer as like the amount of years I'm going to be working. So minimum I'll be working 3 years on tasks, right? So 3 times the price of the yearly subscription sounds like a good or fair deal, right? So that's what I did. I launched tasks at $9.99, and I priced the lifetime at $35. So it was $10.35. So it was a 3.5 times multiple. And the reason I did that 3.5 times multiple was because I was going to be supporting tasks for 3 years, and that 15% extra over year I was missing out. So I just did a 3.5. And I think users didn't mind that. They see 3.5 times the price of a yearly subscription giving them value, so they went ahead and bought it. And that just worked for me. So I think you should keep this in mind if you plan on supporting the app for 3 years. Put a yearly subscription and put a lifetime option too. And what this lifetime option did is, it gave me a boost of revenue, right? So initially I got a bunch of purchases of say, even if I get a few amount of purchases, like say 100 of lifetime, right? That's $3,500 for me right off the bat, right? Obviously Apple takes its 30%, but that is an insane boost for a person living in a developing nation, right? And in fact, that's a good boost to start off. Like, you can keep a month dedicated completely to work on your app, and you know that it's been paid for. So having the lifetime option is an interesting take. I cannot emphasize this enough. Providing the best customer support is key in your indie app. A lot of users have loved the app. They've actually reached out to me saying, "Hey, this app doesn't have this," and I respond very politely saying that I understand that, and I didn't, and I completely value your feedback, and I'm taking this point through. And if you'd like, I'd also like to reply back to this mail once I have the feature completed for you. And such users were like, you know what, this is the best customer support, and this was the fastest. So I used to reply to mails within the first 30 minutes if I was awake, right? And people were shocked, that they were like, wow, this is quick and this is being done really well, and I'm being heard too. And they're like, sure, that's awesome, and in the meantime, I think I'll end up using this app, so I might as well purchase the option. And in the below, in the footnote of the email, I would write, if you find this feedback, or if you find my support helpful, please do leave a review on the task on the app store. And a lot of the people who sent mails, I used to get initially 50 mails a day to 100 mails a day, right? And I used to get a bunch of users leaving reviews because of this footnote, and they would take out a minute of their time and write a review. So if you provide a good customer support, it's users will love you, they will stay with you, and they'll probably stay loyal to you, and even go a step further and recommend you to other users, right? And that's extremely important. And let's talk some numbers. I know this is rarely seen, but so Lingo had 200,000 impressions, roughly 800 downloads with $50 revenue, and this was over a year. And Tasks, on the other hand, got 10 million plus impressions with 70,000 downloads, and I made roughly 17k post Apple tax, and this was just in 5 months. And this just speaks to you. So Task did get featured a lot more, and it got featured enough, and that's because of the marketing material that I made, right? These are with zero investment into Tasks on marketing collateral or anything. I did not do any ads or anything, no Apple search ads. This is completely organic. And the way you do this is, by taking care of the days which are best for your app. So I've realized launch day was my most successful day, right? Launch week, actually, it's when I got the maximum traction. People like, ooh, there's something new out there, let me check it out. And so that's one launch day. The second thing is when the new iOS or macOS release come out, right? Apple goes all out and features you everywhere. Like, say a widget is new, everyone's looking for cool widget apps, so you can be over there. That's a really important day for your app. Something like a system feature launch, right? And like a good example of it is cursor support. When cursor support came out in iOS 13.4, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of users were like excited to see, and they bought the new keyboard, and they wanted to see apps which use the trackpad really well. And I just instantly went and added cursor support, and it was a good thing because people were like, not a lot of apps had it, and the apps that did have it, users were like, oh cool, this app is right ahead over there, and it'll keep updating it as soon as features are launched, right? Major app updates is a huge milestone for us. So for example, when you do a 1.0 to 2.0, right, and when you make the 2.0 app release, you can actually get press kits set up, and you can ask publications like 9 to 5 Mac, iMore, or 9 to 5 Mac and Mac Rumors to feature you. And finally is when you get featured on and off the App Store, right? Which is in various tech publications and mailing list. Those are really good days for your apps. So I recommend you to remember these 5 days and make sure that you make the most of these 5 days. When you launch, get your things in order. And let me show you what things. So like, getting featured on the App Store, you need to localize your app. If your app is just in one region, localized just for that, it's not going to give you much of a reach, and it's good to get it localized. I personally use Fiverr, and for roughly $5, right, you can get your app localized to any language. So I think you might need to take that initial effort. Just think of it as you getting one customer from France paying for your French localization. So it's not an expensive investment, but it's a really good investment to keep because it improves your chances of getting featured. Accessibility goes a lot So I think Apple has started thinking about apps that have accessibility as they push those forward a little bit. It might not be true, but I think it's really good to have it. And they frequently have these sections, accessible apps or such related things, and it does help. And I think we should all, in general, at least try to adopt the basic accessibility features that we can. iOS makes it easy for us, so definitely. Then finally, there's a form on Apple's website which you just fill out saying that, hey, I'm launching this app and I'd love to get featured. And you send out your press kit and all of these things. And who knows, you might get featured. I like to think that I submitted my form on this website and maybe that's why I got picked off to be featured, right? So you never know. Getting featured off the App Store is I wouldn't say simple, but it wouldn't say easy, but it's not that hard. Most of the editors have their info put out right there, and they just reach out to you. Like, just follow these people, see what they're looking for, and just go right at it. Like, just message them, mail them, show them, put pictures, reply in the comments, right? Eventually you'll catch your eye. And look at Vitici over here, right? And he's from Mac Stories, and he's always out there asking developers, hey, what is there anything cool you're working on? And these reviewers actually sit and look at their look at the Twitter comments, and check out the cool apps. And if they like it or something, you might get featured, and this might convert into a huge publicity stunt for you, right? You might get a tremendous amount of downloads, and users might convert because they trust Mac Stories. And if you're featured in Mac Stories, they'll assume that you are, an app worth trusting. And so yeah, look at these things. Then there is Reddit, where you have r/Apple. Every Saturday you can promote your app, but you can promote your app only once. So just make sure that it's not crowded that Saturday, and just post your app. And a lot of users, Task got 1.6k upwards. So, and I definitely recommend you to try that out. And there are a bunch of other websites like Product Hunt, and where you can post about your app and post about this, and users actually just check these out to see what's happening, what's new in the community. And post on Twitter, a lot of people upvote it, and you automatically getting into the Product Hunt top 5 is not that hard. I did that with tasks with just 200 upwards, and I think it's not that hard a feat, and it definitely helped me bring the app in front of new eyes that wouldn't have seen it otherwise, right? So yeah, this is in getting featured off the App Store is completely in your hands. And it's, if you are lazy, you will not get it, but if you are really looking for that feature, you will get it. Tasks got featured on Mac Stories, 9 to 5 Mac, and all of them were via Twitter DMs, or posting on Twitter and all of these things, right? Or in mailing them directly. So you should definitely keep a lookout on this. I cannot emphasize this enough. I failed to do this in Lingo. I did this in Task, and thank God I did this in Task. Editors really have a lot of work on their hand, and they're not going to check out your app completely. Give them screenshots, give them what your app is, a technical and non-technical description, right? And give them a screenshot with the device frame, without device frame. So make their work easier so that they can put you out there. Like, it shouldn't be much of an effort for them, right? Just make it easier for them. Make a press kit, and at the end of the day, you just have to upload a link saying that, hey, if you're interested in checking out this cool task app which does what Jira, Trello, and Reminders does all in one, right? Check out this link. That's it. Like, leave them curious, and make their work easier for them, so when they open it, they can just see screenshots. Because when they're going to download your app is going to be empty. You need data to explore your app. Say, for example, if you're a task app, if you have no tasks, it's just an empty looking app, right? So give them some populated stuff. So I kept a sample project in my app which helped them to try the app out quickly. Otherwise, no editor is going to sit and make tasks and migrate everything and do all of those things. So yeah, make it really simple for them and make it really clean. And please make a press kit. Like, this will help you a lot. It certainly has helped me and a lot of other developers. And finally, I think I'm at the end of my talk. And if you have any questions, please do reach out to me on Slack. I'm completely available and up to take any questions you all want. You can ask me any sort of questions. There's no limit on it. If I'm uncomfortable answering something, I'll do let you know. But thank you for being a part of Swift India, and I look forward to talking with you. Ciao.